What's up, everybody? This is Colin from Holistic Heritage Homestead, and today I'm going to talk to you about 5 things I want you to focus on this fall. So you're wondering why I'm talking about fall when clearly it still feels like the summer here in the Ozarks. Beautiful, very warm out, loving it. I'm talking about the fall because I always think you should be one season ahead of schedule. This video very well could be called How to Prepare for the Winter, right? But if you start to prepare for the winter in the winter, you missed it. Because if you're anything like me, life happens. We're all busy. We have responsibilities, family, property, business, work, you name it. When we think of preparedness, when we think of things and plans, we're always saying the 2 is 1, 1 is none rule. 2 plans is 1 plan, 1 plan is no plan, right? Why don't we give ourselves some grace when it comes to time? You see, it doesn't matter if you're in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, where your latitude or longitude is, what your climate's like. You know, it doesn't matter, folks. It's about routines. It's about knowing that every fall, every winter, every spring, and every summer, you have a list of tasks and chores that you need to do to be your best, to do your best. And you have to be methodical and deliberate about this. You can't wing it and just react. Write this down. Have these lists. Go through this with your family. My wife, designer, phenomenal project manager. She sees so far into the future, I can't wrap my head around it. But you need that. You need to think about the future, and then how are you going to reconcile? How are you going to get from point A to point B, right? So getting right into it, folks. Number 1, take care of your housing for your animals. That means everything. Are they insulated, or do they need more insulation? Do they have proper ventilation? Ventilation is huge, especially when it comes to chickens, because it's not the cold that kills the chickens, usually, depending upon your breed. But usually, the chickens are just fine with the cold. It's the moisture and humidity. If you don't have moving air, then they start to get frostbite on their combs, on their, their feet, and it's really bad for them, okay? So you need ventilation. You need insulation. You need to clean out that bedding or that litter. We're huge fans of the deep litter and the deep bedding methods, right? That provides the heat for our compost. We went through record-breaking cold weather. It was, I think, the worst they had in 8+ years here in the Ozarks this winter. And we used no artificial heat. From the deep litter method alone, it was warm in there, okay? Are you going to have a source of fresh water for them? What if it freezes? Do you have a plan for that, right? Do your pigs have extra hay so they can be comfortable and use that as insulation for them, right? Think about the season. And again, in the fall, depending upon where you're at, you could already see dropping temperatures. We've already seen daylight drop down, okay? Usually we can do everything we need to do here on the homestead with natural light. The days have been getting shorter. So you might want to think, if you're being safe and you have an electrician does it, a licensed, certified, whatever you need, right? Get some lighting in your coop, in your barn. If you're going to use lanterns, be very safe with fuel. Fire is always something to consider, okay? Think about that ahead of schedule. Second thing, I want you to think about compost. You should have been doing your clean out in the fall, because you're going to need at least, if you're having animal manure in your compost, you need at least 90 days. I consider that a minimum of 90 days to make sure that if it's a hot compost, that is, which is what we prefer for anything that has manure in it, that it's killing any bad things that could be in there, just to be safe. Sure, sometimes certain people, again, we're giving you the safety things. You could trench compost. Some people use partially ready compost. That's up to you, but do it with your own discretion, your own judgment as far as safety. You have to compost now. You need to clean that all out. We recommend leaving at least 3 to 5% of your current litter or bedding in that chicken coop or in that pig pen, so that it can start to inoculate the new stuff and start to develop that heat and that warmth for them, right? That's the bioactive stuff. That's like your your colony, right? So always leave a little bit in there, okay? Give yourself time to get these leaves. If the leaves are dropping, you need to be picking them up. It's like a family ritual. As soon as the leaves start dropping, my family knows everyone is out there getting some leaves. That's compost. That's bedding, right? It's a filler, as an extra filler for a growing medium for container gardening or hugelkultur techniques, right? Get the leaves, right? Leave some at the base of your trees in your property to let them work that back like they would naturally, so you're not robbing them. But if you have open areas, get as much as you possibly can, folks, okay? Number 3, basic house preps. Are your pipes in order? Your gutters are clean with all these leaves coming down. Did you do a furnace checkup? Did you ready your fireplace? Did you have somebody come and inspect it and clean it? We do that once a year personally. Ask the professionals, okay? Test your generators. You do not want the power to go out in the middle of a snowstorm to realize your generator is not working, okay? Think ahead. You don't want to realize that your snowblower is not working when the snow is coming down. Don't be reactionary, okay? Drain your sprinkler systems. Insulation, you could use, they have air catchment systems. They can put some foam on your walls, your windows, whatever you got to do something, because it's one thing to create heat. It's another thing to hold that heat in the home. You could save a lot of money, and in a survival scenario, that could be really life-saving, okay? Insulate properly, okay? Removing your garden hoses, storing them, getting all your garden tools put away so they're not just going to rust or, get damaged. Think ahead. Smoke detectors, CO detectors, these things should be tested, right? Get your home in order. You're not going to want to be doing this stuff when it's cold outside, okay? When it's not safe to be doing it, right? Number 4, prune your plants and your trees. Get your plants prepared for the winter, right? In the fall, those temperatures start to drop and you have things that are tropical plants or things that need more sun or more love or more heat. Bring them in. Keep them warm. Mulch. We talked in one of the last videos, even with the strawberry video, about mulching. Onions, garlic, strawberries, brambles, whatever needs mulch, get your mulch down. That's going to insulate and protect those roots to keep it strong so that they'll live. And then next season, come that spring, you've had months ahead of the other gardeners of that stuff breaking down and feeding your soil. So it's really going to give you a great jump start, okay? That ties into also chop and drop. If you have a cover crop in your soil, which hopefully you do, you could probably still get a little something in right now, depending upon where you're at, but otherwise you might have missed the mark on that. But if you have a cover crop, even if it's just grass or field grasses or prairie grasses, whatever's growing in your property, right before the winter and your fall time, you chop that, you drop it, you let it fall in place and compost in place. And it's also going to keep a lot of the weeds out for the coming season. But you're giving, hopefully you had nitrogen fixing stuff, and it's going to really work that soil and really make it rich. And all that organic matter is going to just help condition your soil for the coming season, okay? You have to take care of this stuff now. Again, fruit trees, most fruit trees and brambles, they don't want to be, in the winter. Some of them do. But if you can do it in the fall time, if you could prune them and get it taken care of instead of being out there in the cold, get them ready now. Prune them, shape them as needed now while it's still warm out and still nice outside. A good little trick, by the way, we do a lot of container gardening. We have a lot of big containers, massive containers. Save your back. Use a hand truck. Use a dolly. I use that thing for everything, moving containers in and out of the house if needed. Fun trick, to just save your back. Besides that, number 5, and arguably the most important, is stockpile. I can't stress this enough from the bottom of my heart. I think it's very important to stockpile. Water, no brainer, always. Some people use salt and they use different things to make sure it doesn't freeze, but just have some water, okay? Seeds. It's not what you do, it's also when you do. We talk about saving money on this channel, right? If you want to save money on seeds, buy the surplus at the end of the year that no one bought, right? Buy the leftover stuff that they give you a markdown. A lot of the companies will also sell stuff at a discount when it's not springtime, when everyone's doing the same thing and doing it and being reactionary. Buy your seeds now. But even better than buying your seeds, what should you do, Colin? Oh, I'm happy you asked. You should be saving your own seeds. It's harvest time. You should have had one harvest and arguably a second harvest soon. And you should be growing heirloom seeds, because we talked about this in my top 10 tips for beginner gardeners. Saving your own seeds so that those genetics are already there and they're used to growing on your property and your growing mediums. Save your seeds. Stockpile seeds. Stockpile food. We need food to survive. Don't be those people that are getting perishable garbage, milk and bread, whatever, the basics, the weatherman announces some bad news, right? Don't be like that. Have enough food that if something happens, and you're stuck in your home, you can hang out for days or weeks or maybe longer. I don't know, I'm just saying. Have some food on hand, healthy food, nutritious food, right? Fuel. Again, make sure you listen to your local laws, your government overlords and what they say as far as how much fuel you're allowed to store and you're allowed to put up and how to do it. But as long as you're being safe and you're following the laws, I would suggest, if you can, stockpile some gasoline, some diesel, propane, and one of my favorites, firewood. Again, you want to save money on firewood? Don't buy it like when everyone else buys it in the fall. Buy it at the end of the summer, buy it in the beginning of the fall. It's going to be, last year these guys, because around the country we had horrible conditions with the winter, they were raising their prices 5, 6, 7 times what they normally are. And I don't know how much that's price gouging or how much that was just supply and demand. And once they ran out, they ran out. You don't want to be that person reacting, making those phone calls, trying to get something and paying a premium when it's too late. Now, oh, Colin, I don't have a fireplace. I don't have a wood stove. Build a fire pit on your property somewhere. If it's up to code and you're allowed to do it, build a fire pit, and you could boil water. You can cook food. There's a lot you could do with that as long as you're being safe and you don't have it too close to your house. And be safe and follow the rules, folks. Okay? I want you to stockpile fun. One of the things that, there's always a silver lining, right? During this current dynamic we're living in is people started to spend more time at home and do the things we used to do growing up, right? Playing games, playing board games, playing cards with the family. Keep some stuff like that on hand. Board games, cards, games. If you have electricity, maybe video games if that's your thing. We don't really do video games in this house, but to each their own. You don't know how long you're stuck. Let me tell you, one day turns into 2, turns into 3, turns into a week. You start going crazy. You're going to want a way to entertain yourself, okay? Yourselves. It's very important, and one of the things I feel is often overlooked. So as far as the food goes, stockpile, start with canned goods. If you want to get into the Mylar bags and all that stuff, sure, start with canned goods. Start with a freezer full of meat, okay? Proteins, right? Start with canning your own harvests of your own food. Okay? Start with harvesting and processing your animals now. You do not want to be outside in the cold in a 3-basin sink trying to butcher or process animals. You don't want to do that. Get them in the freezer now. Okay? Plus the sun is very good at killing quite a lot of germs, so it's an extra sanitary thing to do if you're doing things like that outside. You want the sun on your side. Okay. Otherwise, just use common sense. Go with the natural rhythm of life. Again, I've read some studies, some solid science that shows we're actually supposed to put on 4 to 6% more body weight during this time. Other animals do. There's a reason why in nature we have more calorically dense food and starches and roots and tubers and potatoes and things like that available to us at this time of year. Maybe nature's trying to say that you should store some food in your own vessel. People that have lived through the Great Depression or been through horrible historical things have always talked about how it was beneficial to have a little extra meat on your bones. I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to be an issue. I'm just saying I wouldn't really be so concerned about getting shredded up in the wintertime. I would be concerned about having enough fuel. Good, it's good to store water. Absolutely. You should always be fully hydrated. This is your first water container, you. This is your first container for calories, you. Make yourself full. Make sure you're satiated. Make sure you're overly nourished, first and foremost. I hope some of this stuff was valuable to you. If there's anything that you recommend that you like to do during the fall to prepare for the winter, for the coming seasons, throw it in the comments. I love hearing from you folks, and you're all very intelligent. Throw some stuff in there. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it so much. Thank you for your time. Take care.